Hey Rakesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Duncan. Great to be on.
Hey, before we get started, I know that not all of the listeners will be familiar with who Rakesh is, so maybe it's good to introduce yourself. Who is Rakesh? What do you do for Broadcom? And maybe you also have a highlight of your career that you can include as well.
Absolutely. First of all, Duncan, thank you very much. It's an honor to be on your podcast. I've been looking forward to this session for a while. So at VMware Broadcom, my current role is Senior Director of Product Management. I'm the product head for storage, data, and data protection in VCF. I've been with VMware for 12 years now. I came in through a startup that I sold to VMware. I was the first PM to bootstrap vSAN, which, as you know, is the flagship software-defined storage offering from VMware. We grew vSAN from zero to a multi-billion-dollar product line, and at one point, it was the fastest-growing product in VMware. These days, in addition to storage, I'm driving some new initiatives in data protection, such as cyber recovery, and in database management, such as database as a service. Prior to VMware, I spent several years in product management and software development at early stage startups, leading them to some successful and some failure exits and acquisitions, as well as in some large companies. Every time I went to a startup, it got acquired either by a Dell EMC or VMware. So finally, in 2013, I decided to just stay at VMware, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now I've been here for more than a decade now.
Well, I'm very happy you stuck around because I think we got a great working relationship, and you've done a lot of great work with the team and with the product. Now, at Explore, and we've already discussed some of the different Explore announcements over the last couple of months, but at Explore there were many different announcements, and a lot of them, of course, were in the storage and availability space. Now, before we actually start discussing vSAN over Fibre Channel, because that's the topic of today, maybe it's also good to explain to the audience how strategic storage services are for VCF as a platform. And also, maybe you can explain where you feel there are still opportunities for us as a company, but also maybe for some of our customers.
Yeah, great question. See, I think to understand the importance of the strategic nature of storage services in VCF, it is important to first recognize the massive paradigm shift that has been brought about by our new pricing model for vSAN with VCF. So since the Broadcom acquisition, we have been offering 1 TB per core of vSAN with every VCF, right? And the deal sizes that customers are closing with us for VCF are pretty massive. Customers are buying 100,000 cores, 500,000 cores. We even have a customer that purchased 1 million cores recently of VCF. So, Duncan, you are a storage guru. Let me ask you, how much vSAN does a customer get when they buy 1 million cores of VCF?
Yeah, I think it's probably more than they can ever consume.
That's right. Million cores is 1,000 PB, which is 1 EB. 1 EB of storage is what they get, right? That's how massive it is. So our customers are getting massive amounts of vSAN already as part of VCF. Okay. So my conversation with CIOs has now shifted from what storage do I need to buy with VCF to CIOs are like, how do I use the hundreds of petabytes of vSAN already available to me with VCF? They need to look no further than just figuring out how to use all that entitled vSAN, the vSAN that's entitled to them in the VCF deal. Furthermore, the x86 servers that they mostly use for running compute or ESXi can be easily converted to vSAN by just adding disks. So my point is that vSAN, storage and data makes VCF sticky, right? And the data services that we provide, like global deduplication, encryption, snapshot-based instant recovery, managing database as a service, etc., these are all far superior to what traditional storage arrays provide. So to answer your question in short, these storage and data services are extremely strategic to VCF, especially given the massive scale at which they are adopted and the high return of investment they provide to customers in terms of lowering TCO up to 40%, delivering 30% better performance, enhancing reliability, and so on and so forth compared to storage arrays.
Yeah, I think those are very valid points. Now, I've already mentioned it. Today, we're going to be talking about vSAN over Fibre Channel, and we've actually introduced that at Explore. Now, before we actually look at some of the specifics, I think the first question I need to ask, and I know I asked that question at first as well when we had the discussion, is why? Maybe you can explain the why.
Yeah. Okay, great. See, as I mentioned earlier, the growth of vSAN in VMware's strategic segment has been nothing short of phenomenal. Okay, so based on our telemetry data, vSAN is the number one storage platform today, and it accounts for 30% of the capacity, block storage capacity in the strategic segment. Okay, that's huge. And there's no other storage platform that is as big as vSAN. But that's 30%. What about the remaining 70%? The remaining 70% of block storage is actually taken up by traditional storage arrays on Fibre Channel. So in our conversation with many customers, I learned that Fibre Channel networking investment accounts for 40% of their overall capex for storage. So what that means is it's basically a sunk cost, and it is extremely difficult for many customers, including Broadcom GTO actually, to move off of Fibre Channel in the near future. In fact, there are new Fibre Channel technologies customers are refreshing to, like 64 gig switches. I think we've talked about this in the past. Fibre Channel has a good growth and it is here to stay. So this 70% market for Fibre Channel presents a huge opportunity to us in VCF. So now coming to vSAN, in the past, as you know, we would never take vSAN and Fibre Channel together in the same sentence, because vSAN, as you know, we built this together, you, me, Christos. It was organically built as IP or Ethernet storage in an HCI form factor. We later on disaggregated vSAN on Ethernet with what we call vSAN Max or what we call vSAN storage clusters today, right? So vSAN was designed as IP storage and it runs on its own proprietary networking protocol on Ethernet, okay? So we thought, what if we extend vSAN on Ethernet to run on Fibre Channel as the networking layer? At that point, vSAN can not only coexist with traditional storage arrays on Fibre Channel, but could also go on to replace these arrays on Fibre Channel, owing to its inherent benefits such as scale-out architecture, superior performance, superior space efficiency. So bottom line is this 70% market presents a huge opportunity for vSAN to replace traditional arrays serving block storage. So that's the main reason.
Now, you've mentioned that, 70% value, but in terms of absolute number, do you have any idea, how many customers roughly are still using Fibre Channel fabrics? Because of course, there's also many customers using NFS and people doing iSCSI. So what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a good point. See, again, I think that's a tough metric to look at. I've tried to figure that out, but I would say that most, if not all, strategic customers have some form of Fibre Channel fabrics in their environment with varying degrees of adoption, right? And it depends a lot on how much they have modernized and converted to Ethernet in the recent times. So I would say almost every strategic segment customer has some form of Fibre Channel. But as I said before, if I just look at the block storage capacity, 70% of capacity is on Fibre Channel and the 30% on Ethernet with vSAN across the strategic segment.
Yeah, and if you look at those numbers, if you look at the total capacity, it's a huge amount. Now, when we talk about vSAN on Fibre Channel, because it's one of the first questions then I got when I started talking about this, is what does it actually mean? Does it mean that vSAN can now consume Fibre Channel storage? Because that is the assumption some people seem to have. So what does it actually mean from a feature perspective or product perspective?
Yeah, very good question. See, I'm not surprised. I get that question and I understand that misunderstanding people have, right? It's actually not that vSAN can consume Fibre Channel storage. That's not what we are doing here. It's pretty simple. vSAN traditionally ran only on Ethernet. Now we are extending it to also run on Fibre Channel, okay? Which means three things, okay? It can coexist, vSAN on Fibre Channel can coexist with vSAN, it can coexist with storage arrays, right? On Fibre Channel, that's one. vSAN can you can have some vSAN running on Ethernet and also on Fibre Channel. So vSAN is coexisting with itself on Ethernet and Fibre Channel, or it means vSAN can be used to completely displace a storage array on Fibre Channel. That's what it means, right? What we have really done to answer your question from a product innovation standpoint is that we have extended vSAN, the technology to run on Ethernet to fiber channel networking, where it works with a customer's existing FC environment, switches, etc. So the most important benefit for customers is that they can just use their existing FC infrastructure for vSAN. They don't have to make any changes to their FC networking. They don't need more ports. They don't have to reconfigure, none of that. And customers who are not planning to move to IP or Ethernet in the near future, they can just consume vSAN on fiber channel. Simple. As an analogy, it's like turning on a brand new iPhone. Okay, you switch it on. The first thing you do is connect it to the Wi-Fi network at home, and boom, it just works. So take vSAN, put it on fiber channel, and boom, it just works.
Yeah, so it's purely the fabric that we are talking about. Now, of course, most people listening will probably also know that we have two form factors for vSAN itself, which is the HCI model. And then, of course, there's the more recently released vSAN storage cluster capability. Yes. Does this apply, will this apply for both of those architectures, or what will that look like?
No, it's a very good question. I get this question from all customers. So Duncan, you're just like exactly like what how customers keep asking me. We plan to support vSAN on FC only on the disaggregated vSAN or vSAN storage clusters on FC, not on HCI. So this is primarily because if you look at traditional storage arrays, they're inherently disaggregated, right? So it made sense to support just the disaggregated vSAN storage cluster, because then it becomes a like-for-like deployment that fiber channel customers are used to with external storage, right? So it's like saying, if you want vSAN on FC to coexist with the arrays, or you want to replace your array, boom, it looks exactly the same because it's a disaggregated mode. And so at least in the near future, I don't have any plans of extending this to HCI because it doesn't make a lot of business sense at this point.
So for those customers that would then be deploying it as a vSAN storage cluster and consume the fabric itself, would you anticipate these customers over time to migrate to Ethernet, or would you expect them to just stay running on fiber channel forever?
So this is a very, very good question. I think see, different customers are in different stages of their migration cycle, right? I know many customers, what they're doing now is when they have brand new data centers, they're virtualizing that as a software-defined data center and moving to Ethernet storage. So different customers are in different levels of maturity. Some strategic customers have gone all in with Ethernet, some not so much, some are hedging their bets, some are keeping some fiber channel. The newer ones are on Ethernet. So in the beginning, I expect vSAN to coexist with these customers, right? I'm sorry, coexist with the storage arrays. Think about it, right? They've like if they're a fiber channel customer and they've used fiber channel storage for 20 years, vSAN is a brand new product in this space. I expect them to kick the tires with vSAN for a while. And then once they kick the tires and they're comfortable and they see that they're getting better performance, better space efficiency and all that with vSAN, over time, I expect them to then start also deploying greenfield with vSAN. So that vSAN on FC, that's what I expect.
Now, actually, not too long ago, I spoke with one of the Broadcom folks about the fiber channel solution that we have available, and one of the things that, of course, he mentioned was the efficiency as a transport mechanism, but also the performance aspect. Now, if you would have to compare, or you would have to guess, because I know it's under development as we speak right now, so it's very difficult to say anything concrete, but we expect the performance to be the same for vSAN over fiber channel compared to vSAN over Ethernet. We expect it to be better or worse. What is the expectation here?
Yeah, very good question. So before we go into that, right, I think I want to touch upon the fact that we've published a bunch of benchmarks already that compare vSAN on Ethernet with traditional storage arrays, right? In fact, I've changed the performance benchmarking methodology from going completely with these industry benchmarks like HCI bench or FIO to real world application benchmarks. Okay. So as you know, there was a recent blog that we collaborated with from our friend Pete Keeler about how vSAN on Ethernet displaced a leading storage array at a large stock exchange, right? It's a public blog. So we already know that owing to the scale out nature of vSAN, we are able to overcome Moore's law, which traditionally storage scale up architectures are not able to. Which is why we see 25 to 30% higher throughput on vSAN at consistent sub-millisecond latencies compared to arrays, right? And we have proved this out in live customer environments like a stock exchange. Uh, that's what we have today for vSAN on Ethernet versus traditional arrays. The performance for vSAN on FC is expected to be at par with vSAN on Ethernet, because all we are doing is changing the transport mechanism from what we have today. We have a proprietary protocol for RDT, which runs on Ethernet. We are just converting that to Fibre Channel. Maybe even slightly better than Ethernet is what we are thinking, due to some of the advantages of FC, like better reliability and higher performance and inherent capabilities of FC. So yes, my expectation, and you're right, it's early, but my expectation is, having looked at the design architecture, having talked to our CTO about it, I think that would mean vSAN on FC would be at par in performance with vSAN on Ethernet. And that would automatically mean that it would be like the 25 to 30% better in performance compared to storage arrays.
Now, we've been to a couple of events together, of course, Explore on tour, and you've had many conversations with customers on this topic. Now, yeah. I guess it's also interesting for the listener to hear what the response has been so far, right? And also what kind of customers are interested in this solution, because it's got to be a particular type of customer. It's not going to be that smaller customer that only has 6 hosts, but it's probably going to be that larger customer. So maybe you can talk us through that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. See, I'm as you know, I'm very focused on the strategic segment, typically the large customers, because that's the big focus here. But we've been talking to mid-size and smaller customers as well. The response from customers has been phenomenal, right? Now, you and I, we launched vSAN on FC in our spotlight session at last Explore, and you remember the standing ovation we got for this feature. So the response has been a mix of I want it now to what took you so long to come up with this? Okay. The customers interested in it are primarily those who have large incumbent FC infrastructure that they don't want to get rid of anytime soon. As I said before, most of the strategic segment customers have some footprint of Fibre Channel. So they are all super interested to see how they can take and fit vSAN, especially take advantage of that 1 terabyte per core that is entitled to them by running it on FC. What this means is, now with so much vSAN available, you have two, they have either the Ethernet fabric or Fibre Channel. They can choose either fabric to run vSAN. This means they can avoid investing in new, large, expensive arrays now, because vSAN will then serve their needs in both Ethernet and Fibre Channel. This results in significantly lower TCO and cost savings by allowing them to leverage their existing Fibre Channel infrastructure. That, in my opinion, is a huge benefit. And to me, every customer that has talked to me about this, this is the #1 reason why they're interested in vSAN on Fibre Channel.
Now, so far, we've mainly been talking about scenarios where, it's a brownfield kind of scenario where customers already have a lot of infrastructure in place. They probably already have a vSphere environment and they have a storage array. But would you expect customers who have some kind of new project that needs to be instantiated and do a greenfield deployment to also use Fibre Channel, or would you expect them to go with Ethernet?
Very good question. See, like I said, right, vSAN is a new product in Fibre Channel, and Fibre Channel arrays have been around for a while. So I do expect the initial set of use cases to be brownfield, because customers would want to kick the tires with vSAN on FC for some workloads, compare it to their existing arrays on Fibre Channel. But there's nothing that stops them from going greenfield in the not so distant future as well. I think the key is we are extending the software-defined and scale-out benefits of vSAN to Fibre Channel. So, because most of the traditional arrays, they are not software-defined, they are not scale-out. So in some sense, they get the best of both worlds, right? All the software-defined scale-out, and they get to use Fibre Channel. So yes, after the initial few months or initial year or so, once they are comfortable with vSAN in brownfield scenarios, I definitely expect them to move to large greenfield deployment with vSAN on FC in the future.
Yeah, so considering the size of the Fibre Channel deployments you've just mentioned, at least from a scaling perspective, what the expectation is, and you said there's a quite sizable market out there as well. How do you feel this changes the storage landscape over time for VMware / Broadcom? Because this must have a huge, or probably will have a huge impact, right?
I have to go out on a limb and say this is one feature that completely changes the storage landscape for VMware on VCF, and it will drive a huge paradigm shift. Okay. The 70% capacity that I mentioned that is on Fibre Channel today primarily remains on FC. And customers are not able to move to vSAN because of the huge investments they have made on FC, right? Even if customers love the capabilities of vSAN, it's more performant, better capabilities, better space efficiency, they cannot move to vSAN today because vSAN does not support Fibre Channel. So that is the barrier to adoption that we are taking away by supporting vSAN on FC. So with vSAN on FC, over time, I expect customers to standardize on Fibre Channel even more, and it will drive large-scale replacement of storage arrays. I expect vSAN to eat into that 70% market at a much faster rate once we have vSAN on FC.
Yeah, I guess you're making a lot of customers happy and maybe some of the storage vendors unhappy. Now, Rakesh, before I let you go, any famous last words or any final thoughts you would like to share with the audience?
Yes. So, well, I'm going to take a leaf out of a favorite marketing person who was at VMware once, who I loved working with. So my famous last words would be, with such massive amounts of vSAN included in VCF at 1 TB per core, and the imminent launch of vSAN on Fibre Channel, in addition to Ethernet, I have one message. Your next server refresh could be your last storage refresh. Let me say that again to customers. Your next server refresh could be your last storage refresh, because once you do that, you have vSAN for all your storage needs, whether it's Ethernet or Fibre Channel. So it could potentially be your last storage refresh. So that said, I'm very excited to take this technology to market, especially with a partner like you, Duncan. I'm sure with this podcast, we will reach out to a large audience and help reach out to customers to explain how we are solving a big problem that they are facing with storage today. Right? Excited to see how this technology is adopted by these customers and the growth it can drive for vSAN and VCF in general. So thank you.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait to see what we are going to share at Explore next year, because we've shown some awesome capabilities this year, and I'm sure it's going to be better next year. Thanks, Rakesh.
Absolutely. Right. Super excited. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you for having me here. And yeah, I expect to work with you on this and many other technologies going forward. You're a great partner to work with. Thank you so much.
And that's it. Thanks for tuning in to the Unexplored Territory podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review or rating wherever possible. And please join us again next time as we uncover more insights into cutting-edge solutions shaping the world of IT. Until then, stay comfortable, keep exploring.